as I said, there's a million different ways we can approach this from. Do we jump right into the AI question? Do we start from Swift? Maybe, you know what? Here's where we start. Why Rust? Like, what was the appeal of Rust out of any of the other language you could have chosen from? Like, why not just stay, if you're gonna move away from Swift, why not just stay C++?
Right. So, in very practical terms, so like people talk about memory safety as this sort of great goal to aim for by itself. And I don't disagree that it has a lot of great properties, but I think it's good to frame it in terms of like really practical benefits as well, not just theoretical benefits. So one thing that I've always wanted to do with Ladybird, which has been challenging with C++, is do more stuff in parallel. Nobody's sitting out there with a uniprocessor system anymore. Like everybody has multiple CPU cores, and we've historically been terrible at taking advantage of that. So Ladybird is a very single-threaded browser, which is not great in 2026 to be single-threaded, especially given the incredibly huge workloads browsers tend to receive. So we've parallelized some things in Ladybird, but it's always been a very uphill thing because we have accumulated a lot of single-threaded assumptions, let's say, over the last 6-7 years. And single-threadedness is just kind of deeply embedded in our code base. And so a break with a safe language that sits sort of on the other side of a boundary where you're forced to be very intentional about what you communicate across the boundary. And like assumptions in our C++ code don't just automatically transfer over the boundary, like everything is explicit. And so that gives us a great opportunity to finally re-architect some things in a way that allows for parallelism, let's say. And Rust or Swift or any other safe language would have been, I would say, would have been like an equally great opportunity to do this. It's just we need some kind of safe language that gives us the confidence to program in a multi-threaded way.
The C++ guys are going to argue that you can write safe. There are subsets of C++ which are safe, right? And obviously, if you can write safe code in the language. I want to play devil's advocate for the C++ people.
Yes, of course. And I've been a C++ person my whole life, I suppose, or ever since I learned C++. I've loved the language. I've used it extensively for decades. And I still screw up regularly, and I don't trust myself to write multi-threaded code in C++. And I don't think I'm the best in the world at C++ by any means, but you would think that somebody with decades of experience should have some level of confidence that they can do a thing without screwing up. But I have no confidence that I can do it without screwing up when it comes to like writing production quality browser code that is meant for people to use every day, right?
Right.
So that's something that I found. We've adopted Rust now, and the first thing that I did with it was just port our JavaScript compiler to Rust. And after that was finished and we had Rust in the code base, it took me like a couple hours to make JavaScript parsing multi-threaded, which would have been a huge hassle before and very buggy. And now it's like trivial almost to just put it on background threads, parse multiple scripts in parallel. Super cool. And it felt like a great taste of something that there's a lot more opportunities like that waiting for us. But yeah, obviously I think a lot of people hear that we're starting to use Rust and they assume that we now want to pause what we've been doing and like go and rewrite everything.
Right.
And that's not at all what we're doing. We we're in this for the long haul. So this is a very, very long-term project. And Ladybird is a long-term project. Using Rust is a long-term project. It's going to take a long time to make more use of Rust, but we're trying to be strategic, and identifying areas that are the most valuable. So JavaScript parsing felt like an important one because that's where we receive code from the internet that somebody else wrote, and then we have to interpret it. Very potent area for sneaky behaviors. So it seemed like a reasonable starting point for safety, for adopting a safe language. And then, yeah, there are various other points where we receive and parse data, right? CSS, HTML, and so on. So we'll be focusing on areas like that. I think not just like, oh, well, we should rewrite this part in Rust because we can. That would slow us down quite a bit.
Maybe we can get a little bit more basic for the people who aren't programmers. When we talk about parallelism, why is having single-threaded assumptions in the code complicated in that context? Just for anyone who might not have any programming background.
Oh, sure, of course. So we wrote most of our code assuming that it runs on one core. And when you are only running on one core, you can have global state, for example, that is accessed by different parts of the program. And you never have to worry that like one part of the program is sort of trampling all over your global state while you're looking at it, because everything runs sequentially rather than in parallel. And so you know that if you're looking at a piece of state in the program, you're the only one looking at it right now. And that simplifies programming a great deal, and it's a much easier mental model, but it also completely fails to take advantage of modern computers, which have multiple cores. And so C++ has multi-core, multi-processing faculties, but they rely on the programmer to do everything correctly to a large extent. And as I previously mentioned, I don't trust myself to do everything correctly. And I like it when somebody prevents me from shooting my foot with the gun, essentially. And yeah, so that's something that I really like about Rust, is that it just makes it that much easier to write this kind of code, because it doesn't allow you to express these bugs as easily as C++ allows you to do it, if that makes sense.
You say don't trust yourself a couple of, and you're probably going to keep saying that throughout the rest of this. That's obviously one of the core criticisms you often hear whenever the adoption of a language like Rust is brought in. It's like, oh, well, you're just using it because, skill issue, whatever reason they want to use. And yeah, actually.
Sure. Yeah, skill issue. I'll take that. Like, I for sure have a skill issue. Like, I can't I don't think I can reliably write bug-free multi-threaded code in C++. And I'm happy to admit that, because that allows me to take the next logical step, which is to use tools that avoid or that make it much harder for me to make those same mistakes. I don't know. Maybe this is something that probably changed as I got older. I think when I was younger, I was probably maybe a bit more, I don't know, boisterous or more
a bit more of an
confident
ego
in my
about your code
ability. Yeah, exactly. But I'm too old for that shit. Like, I'm happy to admit what I'm likely to screw up, and I'm happy to take the longer, more circuitous route around the problem to avoid it.
And as you said, this isn't a short-term project. This isn't something you're just writing for yourself. This is intended to be a long-term, large-scale project. And even if you trusted yourself to write the code, you're not the only person in the team. And as the project grows, the team's going to grow as well. And you want to be able to trust that the code that's being brought into the code base is something that is good code.
Yes. I think So I mean, we're probably getting to AI as a broader subject, but like one of the things that I've definitely noticed, and in just the recent 2 months or so, is that suddenly everybody has a code gun that they can shoot code at you with, and it's very difficult to manage like people spraying lots and lots of C++ at you,
Mm.
especially if you don't know them. New people show up with like 1,000 lines of C++, and there's like this incredible cognitive burden imposed by okay, so now you have to understand this, and you have to like try to build a picture of like this new contributor, like what's their skill level, what's their intent, um, w- have they thought about sort of the side effects of this code and so on, um, and it really feels like a safe language like Rust is something that helps alleviate some of the concerns that I have with with the new world where everybody has the code gun, um, and it's not. It doesn't solve the whole thing.
Mm.
I mean, it's still crazy to have so many people come at you with so much code, but it helps. Like, and I think, and not just for other people, but like if I'm using AI myself to do like agentic coding.
Mhm.
Um, As so far, at least as I've been using it, I'm definitely noticing the AI is happy to create some of the classic C++ bugs, right?
Mhm.
It'll make exactly the same kind of bugs that I've made a million times. You know, like use memory after freeing it, or forget to check a null pointer. Like, um, it's like a child that watches their parents smoke and grows up to be a smoker. I feel like AI is trained on our code, so what are
Uh-huh.
we expecting from it, really?
Right, right. Actually, I like that metaphor. That's a good one. So,
Yeah.
right.
So
Oh,
yeah.
go
So
on, go on.
safe language helps a lot with um, like recovering or covering up some of the sort of confidence gap that you have
Mhm.
with new contributors, because you can have some confidence that the code is not necessarily 100% correct,
Right, you
but
can still have logic errors, sure.
yeah, you can still have logic errors, but some types of bugs are much harder to create in Rust,
Right,
and
right.
yeah, it's nice to not have to sweat about those bugs.